Every gambler knows that the secret to surviving,
I don't wanna take advice from fools.
you always won every time you placed a bet.
Money, that's what I want.
Joe Duffy, CEO of OffshoreInsiders.com. If you've watched my videos or read my articles over the years, I've never made it a secret there are some quote-unquote competitors out there where I think they have fantastic databases. You check my videos here, you'll see, for example, when I do my tutorials on handicapping in the NBA, NFL, I mention very specific websites that I use that have great databases. I've also talked about how other handicappers have influenced me over the years, and not just when I was young, but even today. For example, obviously when I got my start, the first two people that I worked directly with, Hank Stram and Ray Scott, yes, two NFL Hall of Famers. Well, Ray Scott I know is in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame. Yes, he's a legendary announcer. Hank Stram, the former NFL coach. They were both professional sports handicappers through the Score Phones 900 numbers, the first company I worked for out of college, and I learned from them. I was like a sponge with them. I also did a video where I was very specific about what I learned from professional gambler Billy Walters. And yeah, I know a lot of people were saying my Philly accent. They keep saying that I mispronounce his name. No, I'm not mispronouncing it. I guess that same Philly accent where my kids tell me I don't pronounce the H when I say words like human. It came out as something other than Billy Walters. I guess some people were saying I wasn't pronouncing the L. I know what his name was. I don't know Billy personally, never met him, but if you see my video here on YouTube, I talk about where he has still influenced me nonetheless. Now, who has been more of a modern day 2013 influence on me? And this is an evergreen video. What that means is if you watch this 7 years from where I make it, probably most of the stuff that I say will still apply. There will be some changes in the industry, but certainly as I filed this, the handicapper and the sports service that I've learned from, look, I got an enormous ego, but it's not bragging if you can do it. No one's won professional gamblers and myself more money over the past 26 years than Joe Duffy has, but I'm still, my ego isn't so big where I'm not more than willing to learn. Now, Edward Golden of Right Angle Sports, very respected sports service. What have I picked up from them and what knowledge have I gained from them to also become an even better sports service here? Like Billy Walters, Edward I've never actually corresponded with, don't know him personally, but much like there are 4 or 5 guys that on a regular basis I trade info with, what I do with his picks at Right Angle Sports, I notice a pattern. He sometimes picks some of the same teams and or keeps picking the same teams either over or under. What I do is take every pick of his and research it myself. I dig deep and try to find out why he likes those plays. And I pick up knowledge for future games. And in just the past couple weeks, I've gotten my first, second, and third emails from my clients who are saying, wait a minute, are you guys trading picks? They notice that Joe Duffy's picks is often coming out with a couple of the same picks that he is before they do come out, especially when it comes to sides. No, I have actually borrowed his knowledge to come up with my own picks. But what I have done is there's no real code that they are doing there. Now, when it comes to totals, it does notice that a lot of their totals have to do with points. If you take the points per possession, number of possessions per game compared to the total, there's a definite correlation. But he's handicapping games much like I always have, except that he's been specializing in certain conferences where I like to do kind of an Evelyn Wood, get news and notes, dig a little bit deeper in every single solitary conference. But when I notice that he's been picking the same teams, either to win or picking against the same teams, I dig deep and find why. And it's a pretty simple formula, same that I've been using. It comes out to there are certain teams that are going to enter the year overvalued or undervalued relative to the fact that they overachieved or underachieved the previous years, and they're a sports service that only makes picks the first half of the year, and that's one of the reasons why they're very good the first couple of weeks. The biggest difference is he's been specializing in a couple of the smaller conferences where I've been doing it in the larger conferences. But when he makes a play, sets off an alarm, says I need to look at this game closer, it means that I need to look at these teams closer, and every time I do, I pretty much spot the reasons. And it also comes down to the obvious. Certain teams, if they have players injured, or more importantly, if they're getting a key player back. And again, I apologize, I got some itching issues, but hey, we've definitely been scratching your wallet, so that's the good news. But when a key player comes back, that is enormously important. Or most importantly, when I dig deep and analyze their picks, what I find is they pounce on when a coach makes a major change, or really a subtle change to a lot of us, whether it's saying this senior running back, or in basketball, the senior guard isn't performing, let me give the sophomore a chance, the sophomore explodes, or if they change some type of pace. For example, again, this is an evergreen video, but if you buy my picks this particular weekend, yes, I did spot where he has seen one team has changed from a lot more up-tempo, pass-oriented to a run-oriented team. It's affecting both the side and total. It has worked extremely well with the side and total. I notice he's picked the same side and the same total in consecutive weeks. We picked up on the reasons why when he first did it. We're going to be riding that again this weekend, even though he shut down his service for the year. So the main point is that what do I do with Right Angle Sports? I don't actually tell his picks. I don't steal his picks, but I borrow his knowledge. Every time he comes out with a pick, because he's an opinion that I respect, I dig deep into those games, find out why he's picking for this team or against that team, why he's picking the over, why he's picking the under, make note of it. And like him, I wind up using some of that same knowledge for the next game. But most importantly, the intent of my picks are not to predict who he is going to predict. I use my own knowledge. Do I agree with it? Do I disagree with it? In fact, one of the, or for the guys that I do trade picks with, they ask me to send my projections of who Right Angle Sports is going to pick, and I do, and I say, these are going to be my premium picks. But again, got that enormous ego for sure, but never so big where I refuse to learn from others. And some examples, look, let me give you some higher profile examples. Clients have made Joe Duffy's picks at offshoreinsiders.com. You saw us ride West Virginia under the first several weeks of the year. We told you they lost their quarterback, they lost their wide receivers, yet they had a deep core of running backs coming back, a transfer from Houston, that they would become much more run-oriented. We were right about that, and we were riding them until it reached the point of diminishing return. Then once they played Baylor, we noticed that already Holgorsen was starting to open up his offense a little bit more. We stayed off of that game, and we wound up passing, and of course that game went over after we rode all the way to the bank on some unders. We did the same thing with with LSU in South Carolina, both traditional defensive-oriented smash-mouth teams that had to change the complexion of their offense, much more offensive-oriented. They weren't as good defensively. We rode them, betting both of those teams to go over the total quite a few times early in the season. And what I have found out is that, you know, if I do research Rass's games just a little bit further, that admittedly Golden is excellent at spotting such examples with the smaller colleges. He does it very well in college basketball and college football. And like I said, nobody does it better than us, but I will never, ever, ever have an ego so big where I can't learn from a small number of other people. And that will always be the case. And that includes, literally, there are, depending on the sport, always less than a half dozen other handicappers not already on offshoreinsiders.com who have some knowledge where I'm going to either read their analysis if they have it in their picks, or in the case of Right Angle Sports, I'm going to deeply research why they are making picks and not. So we not only scout the teams that we're handicapping, but occasionally we scout other handicappers for good intel. You want the best picks in the world? They're at offshoreinsiders.com, www.offshoreinsiders.com, where it's all our own research, but sometimes other sharps point us in the right direction. And when certain sharps speak, we're going to listen. www.offshoreinsiders.com.